my God.
This is a living dinosaur.
Aha! Seafood buffet.
I'm not sure you would be able to eat any of this. So when we talk about restoration of oyster reefs, the work is to put back a physical structure for the oysters to be able to grow, and then to have the oysters grow. So sometimes we're lucky, like in Hong Kong and like in this place, we still have oysters in the system. And that's thanks to the oyster farmers, because they have kept, through this traditional practice, they have kept wild oyster populations present here. Now, a lot of people don't know this because most of the shellfish reefs that we have around the world have already disappeared. We've lost globally 85%. That makes it the most endangered marine habitat we have on Earth. The benefits of an ecosystem, of a natural system, to us as humans. First one is protection from storm surge. The next one is better water quality. So oysters are filter feeders. You don't need to feed them. All they do is when the water comes in, they will start feeding. I was at a time of my career where I wasn't loving what I was doing anymore. And there was always this sort of nag of wanting to do something with a purpose. I'm Maureen Thomas, and this is why you should listen to me. So I joined the Nature Conservancy almost exactly 10 years ago now. So that's a decade of career change. And prior to conservation, I was actually in luxury fashion. And so that's what I did up until the moment where I didn't want to do it anymore.
What prompted it?
So this is a bit of the personal side of my story. My father passed away, and there's sort of a wake-up call that life is short, and that I was at a time of my career where I wasn't loving what I was doing anymore. And there was always this sort of nag of wanting to do something with a purpose. And I've been a scuba diver and passionate about ocean conservation. So really immersed in that and starting to see the issues that we have firsthand with marine conservation, coral reef destruction, overfishing. And there's a moment, that turning point, where I'm in my living room in Big Wave Bay, and there's a documentary on shark finning. And there's this image where the fisherman fins the shark, takes the fins off, and drops the shark in the water. And at this stage, I'm sobbing. I can't fathom that this is still happening. Yeah. And that's the moment where I was like, well, I have this opportunity to start over. This is what I want to do. So the tide is coming in right now, but what you can see here is what the abandoned oyster farm looked like before we went and reconfigured it or restored it into a more natural setting.
They're all lined up.
So they're all lined up very neatly. This is not a natural system. So we want to reconfigure it, and this is done with the help of volunteers, to pull these out and to create more concentrated islands so that we free up both the soft shore and we recreate a more natural oyster reef. Basically, with the use of these shovels, or sometimes we just do it like this, especially if it's loose. We pull it out, and then we pass it on, and we usually use like a human chain so that people don't have to walk around in the mud too much because it's quite dangerous.
Yeah.
And then we create these
piles.
Yeah. Somehow, when we try to describe the work and we say you're going to get dirty, it's going to be hard work, there's always, I don't know, an under expectation of what that is, and then they get here and they're like, this is really hard, and I'm covered in mud in my favorite yoga pants.
Oh my God. Okay,
Right.
let's try.
So you would try to go around it
Okay.
and try to lift it.
Oh, okay. See.
See, I'm getting it to budge. You really try to push up. There you go, there you go, there you go. Keep going, keep going. You're good, you're good, you're good. And then push up again.
Oh, it's really
You'll get a feel for it. You're pretty much there. I reckon you could even go with your hand now.
okay. Let's try that.
There you go.
Aha! That was satisfying.
Yeah.
That was hard work.
It's hard work.
What are your thoughts about restoration versus conservation? What comes first? What's more urgent?
So I'd say restoration is part of conservation. Protecting wild areas and natural areas is very important, particularly those that are untouched, undisturbed. There are very little of those places left on Earth where, you know, human impact hasn't made a significant footprint. And those areas are very important to conserve. We've destroyed too much. We have to repair. It's not enough to just protect what's left. That's very important, of course. And frankly, if you don't protect, there's no point in restoring, because otherwise things just get destroyed again.
What's your take on the state of conservation in Hong Kong?
So Hong Kong is an urban area, which means that the impact of humans is going to be very, very high. Mm-hmm. That said, relatively speaking to other urban areas in the world, I'd say we do quite well. We have a lot of wildlife here. We have a lot of biodiversity here. It's actually one of the most biodiverse cities in the world. A lot of people don't know this, mm-hmm. but we do very well when it comes to terrestrial conservation. 40% of our land area is country park. We have, and as a result of that, our development has been very concentrated in certain areas. Our urban areas, built up concrete areas, only really take up 30% of Hong Kong, which is very little, mm-hmm. which means that we've actually done quite well in preserving green spaces. A lot of cities in the world instead will sprawl, mm-hmm. right, will take up. But here, because we've had these conservation areas or these country parks from a very long time, it's almost like a red line. Mm-hmm. We haven't encroached too much. However, when it comes to marine conservation, we do quite poorly, relatively speaking. We have very little marine protected areas that actually cover marine biodiversity hotspots, Pak Nai being one of them. We also don't have very many, close to none, no take zones, which means that even in protected areas, at some point you can still, with a license, you can still fish. So even our protected areas fall short in terms of delivering conservation outcomes. This place here, Pak Nai, is the largest nursing ground we have for Chinese horseshoe crab. This is a baby. It will spend its juvenile years on this mudflat, 14, 15 years minimum.
Really?
And once it's an adult, it will go back to sea and only come back to breed. So this is a living dinosaur. These have not evolved since the dinosaur times. So it's what we call a living fossil, but it is like technically a dinosaur, if you think about it that way.
Well, it looks like one. I mean,
Its
shell is very prehistoric.
Right, right. They are odd-looking creatures.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate the underwater life of Hong Kong. There's a study by the University of Hong Kong that assessed marine biodiversity of our waters and basically concluded that 25% of all marine species found in China, all of China, 25% of those species are found here in our tiny, tiny, tiny place. And yet here we are with a quarter of that biodiversity.
Teeming with biodiversity.
So in terms of quantity, we could have a lot more. We could repair, we could restore a lot more. We could probably get, water clarity back and see biodiversity thrive.
But it sounds like your takeaway is there's a lot of work to be done, but it's doable.
It's doable with policy support. The Hong Kong government needs to do more when it comes to marine conservation. And as Hong Kong people, we need to signal that it's important to us. So there's a lot that can be done. And if we do more, the future is bright. But yes, we need to invest more into our marine systems. And I think that, one of the positives of COVID, there are a few, was that Hong Kong people really appreciated the outdoors. We've got amazing green spaces here. We have a lot to offer. We just need to be able to do more for marine conservation in Hong Kong.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Maureen, and wish you all the best for your work with Nature Conservancy, and thanks for sharing your work with us here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming out. It was great.
Oh, I forgot my questions. My list of questions. Oh, hello.